Ivy and a Bean Take Care of the Babysitter. Written by Annie Barrows. Illustrated by Sophie Blackhall. The door in the ceiling. There was no reason, Bean told herself, why Nancy should have a good day while she had a bad one. She had been waiting her whole entire life to see the attic. And besides, she whispered to Ivy as they tiptoed down the hall, if there's nothing up there, how can it be dangerous? Exactly, whispered Ivy. Where are the stairs? There aren't any stairs, said Bean. She opened the hall closet. We go this way. She closed the door behind them and pointed at the ceiling. See? Ivy looked up the shelves of sheets and towels, to a square wooden door set in the closet ceiling. My mom says it's not an attic, Bean said. She calls it a crawl space. Crawl space, said Ivy. Sounds like something's crawling around up there, like a monster with slimy arms that drip down to the floor. Bean didn't like the sound of that. My mom says there's nothing up there. Well, of course she'd say that, Ivy said. Parents never want you to know anything. It's my house, Bean said. I should know what's in it. She looked up to the door in the ceiling. Maybe there's another kid up there. Or some old dolls, said Ivy. Bean wiggled with excitement. There could be anything. Let's get going. She put her foot on the first shelf. It wasn't as sturdy as she expected. It bent in the middle. She gripped the shelf above, the one that held a lot of washcloths, and pulled herself up. It was harder to hang on to a shelf than a tree branch. Shelves were too smooth. She climbed one shelf higher. Hello, wrapping paper. She tried not to step on the fancy white tablecloth, but she did, just a little. Another shelf, ugly green towels she had never seen before. Bean looked up. The wooden square was getting closer. She looked down. The floor was far away. Ivy waved. You're doing great. Aren't you coming? Asked Bean. Oh, sure. Ivy stepped onto the bottom shelf. Gosh, it bends. She took a deep breath, caught hold of the washcloth shelf, and pulled herself up. You guys have a lot of towels. Bean grunted. She was concentrating. She climbed past a bowl of fake fruit and bonked her head on the ceiling. Ow. Holding onto the shelf as tight as she could, she looked up. The door to the attic wasn't really a door. It was a square of wood in a frame. It didn't have a handle or hinges or anything. Bean leaned out, trying not to look down, and pushed against the wood square with her hand. Nothing happened. What's going on up there? Said Ivy. Can't get it open, Bean puffed. Scooch over. Now Ivy was leaning out too. We'll push at the same time. 1, 2, they said together. 3. They bashed the wooden square as hard as they could. The door leaped upward and thumped down somewhere in the darkness above them. From the open hole, black, lumpy dirt rained down on Bean and Ivy and all the towels and sheets in the closet. Bean began to cough. What is this stuff? Ivy was trying to blink the dirt out of her eyes. Your parents probably put it there to stop us, like they use poisonous snakes to guard treasure. Dirt won't stop us, Bean said. We like dirt. Nothing will stop us, said Ivy. Bean reached out and grabbed the edge of the opening. A pile of dirt fell on her face. She ignored it. With her feet, she pushed herself up until her top half was inside the attic. There was a silence. Well, said Ivy. I think we're the first people who have ever been in here, said Bean. Really? What does it look like? Bean's voice echoed from above. Well, it's empty, and there are lots of boards poking up sideways from the floor. It's not very tall. There are little window things on each side. It's kind of mysterious. It's what? Asked Ivy. There was a pause. It's our own private little house. Hang on, Ivy called. Here I come. Uh-oh. They'll never figure it out. Not in a million years, Bean was saying. We'll just disappear, and then, ta-da, we'll come back a few hours later, and they'll have no idea where we've been. She put the door back into its hole and turned to Ivy. It'll be our secret fort. Ivy was moving into the shadows. We'll fix it up so it's all comfy and cozy, with silk curtains and rugs and poofy pillows. Bean walked carefully across the boards. Right over here we could put a little stove so we could make hot chocolate, Bean said. We could have a cat too, and maybe one of those tiny monkeys. We could get beds and have secret sleepovers, Ivy went on. Her mother didn't let her have sleepovers yet. I could sneak out of my house and come over here, and I'll tie a string to my toe and dangle the string out the window. You pull on the string to wake me up, and I'll let you in, and we'll come up here. Oh, I know. Instead of beds, we could put up hammocks like a ship. Bean hugged herself. It was such a great idea. And they'll never know. They'll say, "Where have you been?" And we'll say, "Us? We were right here." And it won't be a lie. And when we grow up and they think we're in college, we'll live here, said Ivy. We'll go out at night to gather food. We'll cut a hole in the wall and go out on the roof, said Bean. After the attic, the thing I want most is to go on the roof. Ivy got up and knocked on the wall. She could hear outside sounds through the wood. We could make a balcony, she said. Our own secret balcony on our own secret house. It's going to make Nancy wacko. Bean giggled. She's going to explode from jealousy when she finds out. But you weren't going to tell her, right? Oh, right. Maybe when we're really old. Ivy put her hands on her hips. The first thing we need is silk curtains, she said. I don't think we have any silk curtains, Bean said. But how about some sheets? We've got plenty of extra sheets. Sure, for now we'll use sheets, Ivy agreed. Okay, they're in the closet. I'll get them. Bean jumped up and moved away through the shadows. Ivy thought about rugs and poofy pillows. A lamp would be nice, too. Ivy? Yeah? We have a problem. What kind of problem? Asked Ivy. There's no handle on this door. I know, said Ivy. You just push it. Not from this side, said Bean. Only from the outside. Uh-oh. Bean had put the door back into the hole. Can you pull it? Ivy asked. There's nothing to pull. Ivy stepped carefully across the floorboards and squatted next to Bean. Bean was trying to dig her fingernails around the edge of the door so she could lift it up. But that didn't work, because she always chewed her fingernails right down to the skin. Even though Ivy didn't chew her nails, they were still too short to lift the door. Bean kicked it, but that didn't do anything. Ivy looked for a stick to pry it up with, but there weren't any sticks. Bean looked up at the little window things. It was late. Pretty soon, the attic would be completely dark. Nobody knew where they were. They would never figure it out. Not in a million years. She looked around at the empty space with its bare floorboards. It didn't look like a fort anymore. It looked like an attic, or maybe a jail. She poked Ivy's arm. At least you're here too. Ivy and Bean sat down, side by side, and began to wait.